Okay, for topic 2, the 5 practices that encourage classroom participation and also 5 practices that discourage class participation. Number one thing I believe is checking for understanding, allowing students to hear the answers or the making connections, calling on several students. I believe that's extremely important. Where sometimes teachers have a tendency to call on one or two students and move on, rather than hearing from other voices and really solidifying what's being discussed by hearing it from other students. Again, practicing turn and talk procedures, groups of 2, groups of 4. I think that encourages because students do not like to get out of their comfort zone. I think it's difficult sometimes, and when they're put in that type of procedure, I think it helps them get to know their classmates and also make mistakes and hear different viewpoints. Another one, number 3, would be calling on several students and groups from hearing from different groups in different parts of the class. One of the effective teacher trainings that I went through is going over to the group and seeing what they're gonna or asking what they're gonna say and hearing, and then let them know that you're gonna call on them. One that builds confidence, and they know that they're on the right point. Also, the pass option I think is extremely important in encouraging classroom participation. My students can pass if they don't know. I tell them I zone out all the time, and if you do pass, however, it is going to come back to you, the conversation, and you're going to have to repeat or answer the question in some way, shape, or form. So having that option, I think, is important for students to say pass, and then allowing them to get back into the discussion. And it also lets the other students know that you're going to be called on, and that's kind of a forced participation, but depending on grade level, it's one of the weaknesses that I think we have to help become a strength with a lot of our students. Number 5 is enforce the rules of respect. Allow the students to make mistakes, understand the code of conducts and rules and policies and procedures of the classroom, and enforce them and not let things go. I think as the year goes on, week 38, sometimes those things are let go, but keep that environment. Allow students to be safe and free from making mistakes. And on the other side of that, discourage participation, not checking for understanding, really moving on. When you're confused and you continue to move on, the student gets more confused, and I think that really disconnects the student from learning in the material. Um, let's see, singling out students, belittling students for getting the wrong answer. That's the quickest way, I believe, to create silence in your classroom and not really maximize active participation. Calling on one student or the same student and then moving on, I think that's important. A lot of times you have the one student that you have the right answer. A lot of times that's the student you're calling on in your observation, but also having the students hear from several voices. And I think tying that into the pass option too kind of helps them make mistakes and not know answers, but also hear the right answer and then repeat it. Another discouraging thing I would say is all lecture when the student is just taking notes and there's nothing much than just the monotone or a lecture, which needs to be done in class, but when the class is all directed towards the lecture, I think it's difficult for the student because there's no participation other than maybe answering questions. And then another discouragement is allowing the behaviors and the disrespect to occur. I think if you allow that, that kind of grows like wildfire, and students will not want to answer the questions and not want to take the risk to get the answer wrong. So I think that's important with classroom control. Thanks, guys.